南卫视国际频道的各位粉丝宝宝，大家下午好。我们这里是阿根廷时间的10月20日下午的14点19分。我们即将开始对诺贝尔和平奖获得者庄黑夫妇的采访。我们的采访将在我们的66度游轮4楼餐厅进行。现在我们的工作组正在准备采访前的筹备工作，来看看大家的工作照。我们从这里进去。这就是我们的庄黑夫妇。
这个只是但是这个这个因为导致身体不好。现在好一点，刚才在这边。
经济情况就是这边哦，那天我是非常去我老图书馆挺好的，这边我们一组全体成员都要蹲下去上去，万一这个月搞完，我来去，对你去跟拍他们，你去拿你的那个 action 去跟拍，就是跟拍剩下的兄妹妹啊，你他们这个人，知道吗？懂我意思不？原本这边。这个是今天最重要的任务，把这个搞定，把这个优先。其实蓝叶大部分都是
现在还能
我在想就是。
Down, it's like in the river, you know how you see the rapids, you have one rock and it makes a wave, but it makes anything. And it's the same here, going over the mountain. So you have that, and they're long waves, it still gives you that motion. And the plane goes, but as long as it doesn't go like that, you're okay. Yeah.
The airplane in China and it was going like this and we dropped. It's like a roller coaster and there are kids in there and they're so scared and a adult man they were like, I'm never gonna go on a airplane again. And everybody's so scared. And when we finally landed they're like clapping.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then later I learned that I think the pilot used to fly a fighter jet. From the army, so he doesn't care about our insurance. He just like wanna go. Yeah, that's how we feel. Because like we can feel the airplane was not going like this. It went like this, and then it was gone. My mom is like, this is like bad driving, like bad driver.
People pay money for that, right?
Yeah. Like yesterday.
Yeah, we have these.
Were you out?
Yes.
When it was very like quality, it was very good. Yeah. Were you scared or you were excited?
Say scared, but we felt a little bit concerned.
在这里，别去戳那里。但是我没够上。 好多。
I know. I was like, where's our cruise? I didn't see anything. And then after a long time, I'm like, oh, that's a cruise. But we're still not getting there. It's so long. But we see the dolphins.
Yes. Well, and that'll be to reassure you that you'll be okay.
Yeah, I think they sense we're shy and we're scared. I think someone on the boat said, they're like, if you fall in the water, a dolphin comes. Yeah, ride it off. Yeah.
啊，给个支点，支点，非常。等一下，没有手持它吗？哪个云台？全程手举。天呐！
你这个不是10 S 6。
Your mic's yeah, the mic's gonna get sound.
It's S 12 now. What's the aperture is too low? What's the aperture? ISO is too low. Okay, ISO 800. ISO 800.
Yes.
ISO 800 and
Yes. Aperture 5.
5. Okay.
Shutter speed 50.
那个专辑你就重新来调一下那个收声，要重新来。
I know, but they don't need to put very much for it. And they get very excited and very flushed. And then they crack very so it's a very short burst. Then they go down. Yeah. They're very sensitive to it. And as you say, some come. Yeah, the heartbeat will be on the almost yeah.
这个桥，
可以了，是吧？
开始录吧。
Rolling. Okay. Camera speed.
I have, and I keep it out of size. Oh!
Thank you. No, thank you.
Any more guests? That's all right, just as long as you get the pronunciation correct.
就是我们俩其实准备的那个，当时一直是我们俩想找他一个人，然后我们俩就写了这我俩这个对，对是对的。然后我想就是现，但是开头是他说的，然后我想的是想加入进来，是给我发一个。
因为我这边也有4个问题。
是他们给我的。
对，然后我又加了一些，变了一下。
就开聊的时候，
我对前面说声音太小，听不清楚。出声了，粉丝提问。
anything else you wanna add?
You don't have to be over the back. Just like that's good, yeah.
So, good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time. We are very excited. From another side, sharing that about Antarctica.
Yeah, and we would love to have you introduce yourself to
myself first and say that it's a very great pleasure to be talking with you today, and also obviously a very great pleasure to be on this cruise ship going to Antarctica. My name is John Hay, and I'm a professor of environmental science at the universities in the South Pacific, in Australia, and in New Zealand. I have positions there. My background is in meteorology and climatology, but over time my interests have become broader and broader, so I now describe myself as an environmental scientist, and Antarctica is one of the areas that I have done research and continue to undertake studies. It was where I studied first as a 20-year-old, so a long time ago. In fact, it was 60 years ago this year that I first went to Antarctica. And so it's a great pleasure for me to now be taking my wife down to Antarctica for her first trip.
My name is Hunan, and I live in the Cook Islands, which is completely the opposite to going to Antarctica. It's a very warm country and a very small island. And here I am on this vast southern ocean, experiencing an amazing time. And I'd like to thank everybody here for including me.
So let's start a question from
Yeah.
okay. So since you mentioned that it's your living here in Antarctica 60 years ago, and it's our first time here, and so I just want to know, so how did you feel back then? Do you have any good memory, some sound or whatever that made you still remember it until today? Is there anything different compared to back then and now?
My first thoughts, and I was in Antarctica for 3 months, and there were 3 of us living on the ice during that time in tents, and we were very isolated. We were away from any base and any support, and the 2 things that I remember very vividly to this day is the silence, the quietness. Often you would hear absolutely nothing, no noise. Any noise that is made by a bird or any other animal is very quickly absorbed by the snow. You know that when you're in even, say, mountainous area in China or somewhere, if it's snow covered, it's quiet because the snow absorbs the sound. The other thing that I remember very vividly, because Antarctica was my first overseas trip. I was living in New Zealand. I'd never been outside New Zealand before, and for me to, on my first overseas trip, to go to the Antarctic, very unusual. But the feeling I had was that as I walked around, I realized I was probably the first person to be stepping on that piece of land. Nobody else, if I put my foot down, it was very unlikely that anybody had put their foot on that piece of land. Where else in the world can you say with confidence, I'm the first person to step there? Now this was way back in the 1960s, 1965. So, now Antarctica is a much busier place. And I think for many places that you go to in Antarctica, you can't say that I was the first person to put my foot there.
That was a Neil Armstrong moment, right?
Yeah, and that's a very good analogy. Yes, yes. But I didn't see my visit as one great step for mankind, however.
But it was the first step that you back then it must have gotten hard, right? There's no much
I'm again just contrasting on the ship where we have wonderful telecommunication connection. I'm still downloading reports and uploading reports and things like this as we are crossing the Southern Ocean. I had only one opportunity to speak to family back in New Zealand over that 3 months. I was completely isolated because we were out in the field. It was easier if we were at the base where there was better communication, but it was still only two-way radio, so it was still very, very simple technology compared to today, where you can send a video, you can download a big document, and so on. Yes, big contrast.
So, in 2007, we predicted the IT loss in the country, and we are in 2025. So, right now, what do you think of the prediction? Is it getting worse or better?
It's not so much my prediction, it's what's actually happening compared to what I predicted and others. I was basing my predictions on the work of many other people, obviously. And one of the things that happened was that in Antarctica, the ice loss, and we're talking about the loss of sea ice around the continent, initially wasn't as much and as rapid as was predicted. But in the last few years, decade, the ice loss has been more rapid, and it's almost as if it's catching up for what it didn't happen earlier. And it's that rapid response that's both stunning in the sense of being worrying, and also of great concern for the future, because of course Antarctica as a continent has a huge impact on the rest of the world. It's not as if, oh, it's happening down there and it doesn't matter to us because we're up here somewhere in the northern hemisphere. That's not the right attitude. When you see changes of that fundamental nature and of such great magnitude, you have to be concerned for the future of the planet. And it's just a worry that we're not listening to the signals that the Earth is sending to us for help to deal with all of these impacts that humanity is having on the planet.
I think people are not really concerned about the impact of this change, climate change, happening. Ice keep melting more and more and more. They don't know the gravity of this, right?
It's a human nature problem in many respects. I mean, we see the war in Gaza, we see the war in Ukraine, and we become isolated from this. We become immune from these messages that we see, and the environment is no different, because we see this global change, and it's because of what everybody is doing to the planet. So how can one person bring about an improvement? So the nature, human nature, is to say it's bigger than I am, I can't do anything, so people go on living their life normally. Now, if everybody lives their life normally, nothing ever gets done. So we have to change that attitude of it's more than a problem that I can deal with. It's not more than a problem that I can deal with, because if I deal with that problem, you deal with that problem, you deal with that problem, we all deal with that problem, then we can make the changes that have to happen. And it's therefore changing our attitude for it being bigger than me to I am part of it, I belong to it, I'm both the victim, but I'm also the solution. And that's really important to understand that, and then the action will follow. And I think our children understand that message better than we do as older people, because they have come to realize that the significance of this change, and they don't realize, if you think of it as the limitations of their contribution. They see themselves, children see themselves as being powerful and if the world belongs to them. Their world is very small, and therefore they can change their world. And if we capture that attitude of children and nurture it, I think the next generation and the generation will bring about differences, including at the political level. These children will soon become the decision makers of countries, and then we will be rid of the old people like us, and we will have a new generation who understand the importance of doing something rather than just talking about it.
Thank you. And I just mentioned that changing the attitude of the public is very important. So we will think that the tourism will do have some impact on raising public awareness to protect the Antarctica.
That's a very, all the questions have been good, including that one, because looking back when I was a young Antarctic scientist, there was a lot of pressure on locking up Antarctica for everything, from anything but science. And the only people that could go down to Antarctica would be the scientists. It's like saying we have this laboratory and nobody can go into this laboratory other than the scientists who are doing work there. But we know that using the laboratory analogy, if you take members of the public into the laboratory and show them the research that you're doing, they will engage more actively in the important findings of that research. And it's the same with the Antarctic. We have to take these people down to the Antarctic and let them experience it for themselves, in the hope that when they go back, they will take the messages back and convince other people who don't have the privilege of going to Antarctica. So everybody that goes to Antarctica has an obligation, and that is to take what they have learned and use that to influence the thinking of people who are not so fortunate as us to go to Antarctica.
Yeah, thank you. But there's also some criticism about like some tourists may have some bad influence of the environment in Antarctica. So how do we minimize those negative impact on the environment while doing this journey and for tourists?
Well, again, looking back 60 years, when I first went to Antarctica, there were no environmental protocols. The things that we did, I'm really ashamed of, and I think those impacts that we had was a good reason to say perhaps we shouldn't allow as many people to go to Antarctica as wanted to go there and were able to go there. Now, the situation is different. The people who go to Antarctica have a social responsibility. They see the importance of protecting the environment. But we also have the international protocols in place to make sure that people do what is required. So today, for example, we went through and examined all of our clothing to make sure that it wasn't carrying any seeds or other material that would contribute to invasive species coming into a place like South Georgia, where we'll be in 2 days' time. We didn't have anything like that. So it's now we see a situation where the risk of people coming to Antarctica, the consequences of people coming to Antarctica is very much reduced, and it's the benefits of people coming to Antarctica with those protocols far outweigh the risks and the consequences, the negative aspects of people coming to Antarctica.
So you just mentioned about, right now there's the use of lab and for scientists are doing actual research, and people like to know that what's our opinion on the environmental work that is being done in the virtual station. I wonder if you know anything about that.
I know a little bit, and I'm hoping I'll learn much more, because there are people on board who can educate us during this crews to make sure that we do understand the important work that's going on at Great Wall Station. But the limited knowledge that I have currently makes that work consistent with the international effort. It's no, in a way, it's not different from any other large base that's undertaking studies, because we all have to work collectively, understanding the environmental changes and environmental systems in Antarctica is bigger than any one country. It has to be a collective and collaborative effort. And so I would be very disappointed if, for some reason, China stopped doing its work. I'd be very disappointed if the US, because of the situation in the US where science is perhaps not being given as much importance as it was in the past. I'd be very disappointed if the US Antarctic science program stopped. In New Zealand, it's a very small research program, but it's a very significant research program. I would be disappointed if that didn't stop, because it's a collective, collaborative effort, and therefore we need to all be working together. The one thing that we must do, though, is always share our results, and one of the good things in Antarctica is that collaboration involves open science. There's no closed science going on in Antarctica. That was a risk, that was a concern earlier. I talked about looking back 60 years. There was a risk and a concern that countries might come down here and do research that was to their advantage, but not necessarily to other countries' advantage. And they wouldn't share what they were doing, and they wouldn't share their results. That concern is gone because of the strong international collaboration that we see. Antarctica is a model to the rest of the world. We should be doing that everywhere.
Yes.
And Antarctica has set, I know it's a white continent, but Antarctica has set a gold standard, the top quality standard, because we're doing the right things in Antarctica. We're doing the wrong things so many other parts of the world, unfortunately. And so Antarctica can again serve as an example to the rest of the world. It's not just the rest of the world coming to Antarctica, it's Antarctica shouting out to the rest of the world. Just like it's changes in environmental conditions, ice conditions, it's saying to the world, listen, take note, do something about it. Antarctic science is saying exactly the same thing. It's saying, listen, we're doing things right in Antarctica. We have a good model. We share open science for the environment. Why isn't the rest of the world listening to that example and following suit? Unfortunately, the rest of the world is not listening enough to Antarctica.
I feel, talking about this geopolitical situation in Antarctica, can we compare this with the International Space Station? How they, so many countries cooperate together for the benefit of us. Do you have any concern that some countries were banned from the space station? Are you concerned like we're having the same Antarctic? So many countries fighting for the space, something like that?
I used to. I have to say that I used to feel about competition in Antarctica rather than collaboration. I do not have that same apprehension. There's something about Antarctica. I talked about earlier the feeling of being in Antarctica for the first time, the quietness, the stepping somewhere where nobody else has stepped before. Antarctica has a huge impact on people who are involved with Antarctica. Maybe just visiting as a tourist, but being a researcher and spending many years working on Antarctica. It has an impact, and I think the feeling that those people have will ensure that Antarctica never follows the same path as some other parts of the world. But your analogy to the space station is a very good one. We've seen that international cooperation, and it's another example. It's interesting that these most extreme environments bring the best out of humanity. And we've got to find some magic dust that takes away from Antarctica and the space station and spreads that same pattern to the rest of the world. I'd like to see that happening before I leave this world. Fingers crossed.
So we have also seen the collaboration between the nations, but the collaboration within the family is also very important. So we have a question for Helen, from your experience, how do each family members collaborate with each other and support the exploration of the Antarctic?
Of my family, I'm the only person that has come to the Antarctica, and I think you're the only person out of your family. So really,
Oh no, my son.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start our group 3 for our bridge watch. If you are signed up for the group 3, we can ask you in 10 minutes, 15:30 in the Deck 5 library. We will meet there. Thank you to bridge watch. Thank you. 各位贵宾，如果您有报名第3组来进行我们驾驶台的一个观赏，请您在10分钟之内前往5楼的图书馆集合，然后我们开始今天下午的一个驾驶台的一个游览。谢谢。
Okay, so we start again. So John just mentioned that the collaboration between the countries are very important, but we also know that the collaboration between the family members are also very important. So we have a question for Helen, from your experience, how do each family members to support each other and to in the process of exploring the Antarctic?
So none of my family members have ever come to the Antarctica. I am the first. Jono's son, AJ, he accompanied him down as part of the university team to the Ross Sea techniques. And so a slightly different part of Antarctica as to where they're going. And so he and AJ collaborated very well, his father and his son. When we go home, both of us go home, we are going to be sharing this amazing experience, and we will be collaborating to ensure that some other members of our families will come and visit this part of the world. Collaborating between family members, though, I must admit, is I'm a very large family, and they all get on very well together. And my family and Jono's family get on well together. So I think the word collaboration is very significant with our two families, because we've learned to share and to communicate and to get on well.
Will you worry or fear about the safety issues?
I'm not worried about the safety issues, but I find coming to this environment has been a challenge to me as an older person, and wondering whether or not I could manage getting in and out of the Zodiac, for instance. But luckily, I've got young men that will hold my arms steadily, and so I know that I'm in safe hands.
No matter how old you are, you can also manage to get through the whole process and get your way to the Antarctica.
That is very true, and as long as you sort of doing with nothing, with just a lot of excitement in your mind and in your heart, you will really enjoy it. And meeting all these wonderful young people, both John and I are motivated and excited because we have that for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always inspire our young generations, and I can't wait to explore the Antarctica with you.
谢谢
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. And as I say, we can spend more time together with the wider team. We'd be happy to have dinner with you, or lunch, or coffee, or whatever, or maybe some of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Đây.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is-
Helen and I will see. Cheers.
Yeah, we're there, right? Yeah, camera, come on.
拍张照，我的手机。
谢谢大家的关注，我们的直播到此结束，希望大家继续关注我们湖南卫视国际频道的光芒至极向南极出发栏目，大家下次见喽，拜拜！来，大家合影喽！我要退出直播啦，再见，小伙伴们！祝国内的小伙伴们有一夜好梦，晚安。